Scotland is home to over 30,000 freshwater lochs of various sizes and depths. From the largest covering over 70 square kilometres to small specks of blue and green, barely the width of an urban house. I've been a bit obsessed with exploring freshwater habitats since I was a child, and this is the first in a series of several videos exploring some of the lochs and rivers of Scotland from above and below the surface. Today I'm diving into two little-known lochs tucked away in one of the most spectacular mountain corries I've ever seen in this country, and definitely off the usual walking routes.
My name's Feargus. This, but especially down there, is the middle of nowhere.
Hello everyone, and welcome to an absolutely extraordinary place. I spotted this corrie sometime last year in photographs that I've seen online. Not from right here. I haven't seen a single photograph on the internet taken by someone down here in this corrie, despite the fact that it is one of the most spectacular ones that I've ever been in. The pictures that I saw were taken from the cliffs up there. I am immediately below the peak of Ben Vaughan, which is the highest point on the Applecross Peninsula in the northwest of Scotland. So up there, in terms of walking, is going to be the most popular spot on Applecross, whereas down here is really out of the way. I've been here since yesterday afternoon, having parked up on the road that enters the peninsula on its way to Applecross village, and it's been an absolutely beautiful night. The weather is extraordinary at the moment, and I'm here not so much for the walking but rather for the water. So there's this loch and a shallower loch which is just up above those rock outcrops there in the corner. I have developed a bit of an obsession over the last few years with snorkeling in high mountain lochs and in rivers and other places which basically have fresh water and are relatively out of the way. And I didn't do an awful lot of it last year, but I have been refining my approach, and this is going to be the first in a series of 6 or 7 videos focused on hiking and freshwater snorkeling around the Highlands, which I'm going to be doing throughout the summer. So it's early May as I film this one, so right at the start of the freshwater snorkeling season in my view. The water has got just warm enough now in most of the places because we've had a lot of sunshine and it's been extremely dry, and I have pulled out all the stops on this one. I have constructed and lugged up here a whole load of camera paraphernalia and observation tanks and stuff, which I have been working on and honing and preparing for basically the last year, on and off, bit by bit over the winter. So that will hopefully allow me to get literally to the bottom of what is living here, and it should be an absolutely stunning place to go for a dip. And I'm waiting for the sun to get a bit higher up so that I can get better penetration of the sunlight, because it increases the amount of visibility and the clarity of objects that you can see underwater. Because certainly this loch, the lower one, which is the deeper one, is relatively filled with green algae. So it's got a very distinctive green tinge to it, which some lochs don't have, and that's going to make the visibility not as high as it could otherwise be, but it also means that there's probably a lot of life in it. So I want as much bright sunlight penetrating down into the water as I can get. But it won't be long. The upper loch up there is the one where I'm going to start anyway, because it's shallower and the visibility looks better as far as I can see. And then I'll probably go for a second or maybe even a third snorkel I've got a limited amount of time before the sun curves around and disappears behind Ben Vaughan, and then it's all over in terms of getting the light for this sort of thing. So I'm going to try and make the most of it and use it as best I can. So I am wearing a shorty wetsuit and a long wetsuit because I know what I'm like. The water's not that cold, but I am going to end up spending a lot of time in there because I tend to get very carried away in my zone, shooting video, taking pictures, looking for beasties. And I'm wearing 2 wetsuits to keep me warm for as long as I want to be in. One shorty wetsuit underneath the long one. And with all of that neoprene, it makes me quite buoyant. So, the way that divers and snorkelers in the sea generally handle that is by wearing lead weights in a belt. Now, even I'm not crazy enough to carry lead weights up a mountain. And a friend of mine a few years back was kind enough to give me her old weight belt, which was falling to bits. So I did some stitching, and then I stitched on a couple of extra large pockets because rocks are not nearly as dense as lead, and it does the job very nicely of giving me good control of my buoyancy when I want to dive down and get some lower vantage points. It just takes a bit of time to collect all the rocks and pebbles. Well, I'm warming up now after that. Did get cold in the end. Beautiful little freshwater safari in the upper loch. It's filled with all kinds of little beasties. There's loads of newts, which are always a joy to see, palmate newts. And it's newt breeding season, so I saw a bunch of females that were absolutely bursting almost with eggs. So I guess they'll be laying them soon. Some of them might have been laid already because there are quite a few small ones too, but they are darting around and crawling around in the vegetation on the bottom among the sediment. It's a bit different from the other lochs that I've been to at this kind of level. So this area is what I would call a mid-level loch, between about 300 and 700 meters or so in the Scottish Highlands at least. Most of the lochs that I've been to tend to be filled with this kind of greenish tinge because there's a lot of algae in it. Maybe that's particular to the northwest, because I know that it's not like that on the Isle of Skye, but the visibility wasn't too bad, and there's certainly a lot of diving beetles and freshwater shrimp and stuff like that. But hold on, I'll show you that properly now. This is a bottle trap. It's a simple design. Well, design is arguable, but you basically cut the top off the bottle and invert it to put it in there. It's based on a traditional fish trap, which is normally made out of sticks. So when an animal swims in the big open bit here looking for safety, then it doesn't tend to swim back out, because that's a very uninviting way out to find the little circle there. They tend to go into the edges and end up getting stuck in there. So I set up 2 of these in the upper loch last night and 1 in the lower loch as well. And this tank is just basically, I had 2 pieces of glass cut, and they're separated by about 3 centimeters of space where I can fill with water. And it's a really good way to be able to have some animals in it, and then there isn't an awful lot of space for them to go forward and backwards, because when you're photographing or filming things close up, you want to have a really good look at macro stuff. It's almost impossible to get a really close-up look when I'm actually snorkeling with something like a GoPro or an SLR camera. So let's have a look at what I found in the upper loch. Okay, now these are what most people refer to as freshwater shrimps. They're not actually shrimps. They are a kind of crustacean, just like shrimps, but they belong to a different group. And you see them in so much of the freshwaters around the UK. They have lots of little legs and they're partnering up. I presume it's got something to do with mating, but they like to stick together in the loch. I've seen loads of them together, and these ones are much bigger than the ones which I've seen in moving water and streams and stuff like that. So what else is in my bottle of goodies? Okay, so what I have left are the shrimp, the caddisfly larvae, and the diving beetles. And these are really, really common animals that you're going to find in lots of lochs and lochans and smaller tarns and ponds all over the Scottish mountains. And diving beetles are a real favourite of mine. They're a fascinating group of insects, because if you look closely, you can see the little bubble on their bum. And that's only the tip of the iceberg, really, because just like whales or turtles, diving beetles are one of those animals which have evolved from ancestors which were living on land. And as land-based animals, they would have been just like most of the other beetles in the world. But of course, their ancestors originally came from the sea and then moved on to land and then went back to the water. And beetles are particularly well adapted for that kind of lifestyle, because the wing cases, the elytra, which cover the wings, so hundreds of millions of years ago, it would have had 2 pairs of wings, but the front ones evolved into hard cases, and that's why beetles have that hard shell on them. But they also do a really good job of holding in air, because they have not evolved to extract their oxygen from the water again. Just like whales and turtles, they are air breathing, and they carry a little pocket of air underneath their wing cases, and that's what keeps them going for the time that they spend under the water. although they can actually fly as well. They're awesome to watch. Okay, I'm just about to get set up to get into the deeper one. I've left my second camera, which is my 360 camera, and I'll show you the setup later, in the middle of the loch where it's pretty much at its deepest, about 6 or 7 meters down, in order to get some footage just in case there's anything swimming around down there, which I'm not able to get on the GoPro. Still don't quite feel warmed up, but I've had my lunch snack and the sun is advancing quickly enough, so I need to get in and get out before I lose the sun for the rest of the day behind those mountains. Right. Well, that's my 360 camera rig. The strap which is holding it to the weight, to the bag which holds the rocks to hold it under, is absolutely covered in shrimps, freshwater shrimps. So there's obviously a lot of those down in the deep. I have no idea what's on the footage, but I will put it up now. It's crazy how many of them there are on there. Wonder what it is they like about it. Well, the shade has come in now on my campsite and I am settling down for my evening. I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video. If this is the first video of mine which you're watching and you like what you see, have a think about having a look at some of the earlier videos which I've posted. There are over 60 on my channel at this point, some of which include loch snorkeling, river snorkeling, and many of which are taking place on mountains in Scotland, some sea kayaking, some overseas, all of which take place in the middle of nowhere. I am passionate about making these videos, but it's your watching that makes it all worthwhile. So if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button below the video. If you know anybody who might be interested in this kind of stuff, then why not share the video or the channel with that person or multiple people. I wanted to give a heads up about my website as well, which you can find the link to in the description below the video. There is an increasingly stocked shop going on there, so I already have greeting cards which I've been selling for almost a year. If your interest is primarily the videos and you're a regular viewer, why not think about paying me for the videos that I make? I do put an awful lot of effort into them, and there's a link below this video as well to my Patreon page, where you can donate just a few quid every month, the price of a cup of coffee or so, and that would really help to secure me in making these videos well into the future.
So thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the video.
I love summer, especially this time of year, because there's hardly any midges yet. If anyone isn't familiar with midges that's watching, they are teeny tiny little packets of hate and suffering. So, yes, unpleasant little critters. I got sidetracked when I was talking yesterday, but the second big reason why I want to go snorkeling in places like this has to do with curiosity and exploration. In my head, I didn't put it in that kind of language until relatively recently, but I realized a few years ago that I always wanted to be an explorer. And underneath the surface of at least some of these places are corners which no human has ever laid eyes upon. And that's, to me, the definition of real exploration. Seeing somewhere completely new and somehow bringing a little bit of it back, in this case in the form of the video that I'm shooting and the photographs that I'm taking, so that the rest of you can experience a little bit of these unknown places.
Okay, that's it. Time to leave this place to its own devices. I have had a wonderful couple of days here. Absolutely fascinating exploring the deep. So, all that remains to be said is give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe, think about donating, think about going to the shop. I personally don't know exactly which one's coming next in terms of where I'm going to be going loch snorkeling, but this was only the first in the series. So stay tuned for the trailer, which is coming up right now. Take it easy. The waters are incredibly clear, the clearest that I have seen of anywhere in Scotland or Britain that I've been to. Look at that colour! I have to jump in. The sun is shining now, and that is just the most beautiful colour for taking photographs under the water.
There was an almighty bang, and then just crunch, crunch, crumble, crumble, crumble.